Hello everyone, I'm the Enforcer, and welcome to the breaking news. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us on Patreon, link in description below. Today we have breaking news coming from around the world, as we have now heard that the Russian Federation is openly arming and supplying the Republic of Venezuela with arms and equipment to resist the United States of America and a potential armed invasion that may be coming within the next several weeks. We have been able to hear from official Russian governmental statements that several flights of Ilyushin-76 aircraft have provided Pantsir S-1 and Buk M-2 surface-to-air missile defense systems to the Republic of Venezuela at this time, with multiple Russian officials also stating that other weapons, including the Oreshnik intercontinental ballistic missile, could be provided as well to the Republic of Venezuela if the Russian Federation ever so chose. At the same time, the United States of America's Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group is currently making steam at all possible speed in the Western Mediterranean and passing through the Strait of Gibraltar, most likely to make it into the Eastern Caribbean within the next several days. In the meantime, the Russian Federation has dealt another deadly blow from the state of Ukraine inside of its own territory, as another major refinery in Nizhny Novgorod was hit and heavily damaged overnight, and a petrochemicals plant near to the area of the Ural Mountains in the Kazan region at Sterlitamak was also hit as well. The Russian Federation's government has now moved to year-round conscriptions, as crippling manpower shortages have started to make it much more difficult to keep to their traditional spring and fall conscription regimens, and they will now be conscripting throughout the entirety of the year to allow for the Russian Federation to be more flexibly allowed, more leeway at least, for the amount of crippling losses that they are taking on the front lines in Ukraine. 2 Russian spies were arrested in the Republic of Poland today for espionage and counterintelligence operations, while at the same time, the Belgians have now given authority to their armed forces to shoot down any drones that are spotted over their airspace that are unidentified. A Russian anti-submarine patrol vessel caught on fire today inside of the area of the Sevastopol Bay in one of its smaller inlets, and it does appear that the Russian Federation is continuing to find itself in a more precarious position. But of course, we have absolutely major news to cover, and we will be making sure to cover all of this and every single bit of detail that we have in this video, starting with our largest stories first and working our way on down to the smaller ones throughout the video. Moving us on directly into the Eastern Caribbean, we have been able to hear that the Republic of Venezuela's government, through its dictator Maduro, has openly started to praise the Russian Federation today. In the words of Nicolas Maduro, he stated that Russia has set an example of respecting international law and stands as a global power capable of building partnerships based on equality, mutual respect, and cooperation. These statements come after the Russian Federation has openly stated today that they are supplying weapons to Venezuela. More importantly, that some weapons have already been supplied to Venezuela from flights of Ilyushin-76s that have been landing in Venezuela over the prior days. In particular, some of the systems that the Russians have confirmed have been delivered to the Republic of Venezuela would be the Pantsir S-1 air defense system seen here, and also the Buk M-2 air defense systems, which I can also show y'all right here as well. These are the Buk M2Es right here seen in this picture. These 2 air defense systems are once again somewhat mid to short range air defense systems, with the Pantsir having a practical range of 15 to 20 miles, with the Buk M2 eking out about an additional 25 to 30 miles of range, or more so 25 to 30 miles of total range, only about 10 to 15 more than the Pantsir. These air defense systems do not improve the larger caliber abilities of the Venezuelan air defense systems, which are generally in short supply, with HQ-9Bs really serving as their only longer-range, large-caliber air defense network. But at the same time, it is starting to show us that the Russian Federation is openly starting to get involved and put some skin in the game, and at least trying to help out the Venezuelans and defending themselves against a future U.S. attack. We do understand that tensions have been rising between the United States of America and the Republic of Venezuela since the President of the United States has alleged that the Venezuelans are the home to a significant amount of narco-terrorist operations. And since then, several months ago, multiple narco-terrorist counter-operations have been conducted by the armed forces of the United States of America within the area of the Eastern Caribbean, leading to the loss of multiple boats, a large amount of lives of supposed, or at least alleged, members of the cartel, and also the impounding and seizure of several vessels within Venezuelan territorial waters. We have now seen that the Venezuelans appear to generally not be open to negotiating and talking with the United States of America, and as a matter of fact are finding an additional amount of confidence in resisting the United States of America and its continued approach towards Venezuela because of the support that they are receiving openly from the Russian Federation. This support is not only going to be limited to shorter range air defense systems like we've been seeing in the ones that we just showed, as the Russian Federation did make a further statement about this very particular incident. Russia is already supplying weapons to Venezuela and sees no obstacles to transferring the new Oreshnik ICBM. According to the statements from Russian officials, including Alexei Zurlov, if I can pronounce that correctly, who's the first deputy chairman of the State Duma Defense Committee, he has stated that Russia is actually one of Venezuela's key military technical partners. We supply the country with nearly the entire range of weapons, from small arms to aviation. The details and volumes of deliveries are classified, so the Americans might be in for a surprise. I see no obstacles to providing our friendly nation with new systems such as the Oreshnik or the well-proven Caliber missiles. No international commitment restricts Russia in this regard. He added that an IL-76 had recently delivered Pantsir S-1 and Buchem-2 systems to Venezuela. 2 days ago, reports emerged that a Russian IL-76 military transport aircraft had arrived in Venezuela. The plane belongs to Aviacon Zitotrans, a company linked to the Wagner Group. It does appear that at the moment, the Russian Federation is going through all available measures not only to supply the Venezuelans, but to leave the door open that other weapons that could be crucially used in Ukraine by the Russian Federation may in fact actually be provided to the Venezuelans instead, to give the United States a harder time in possibly dealing with the Venezuelans. We do understand, however, that even with these weapons being provided, the United States of America's Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, which has weighed anchor from Split, Croatia, and is currently sailing or making steam, all available steam, towards the area of the Eastern Caribbean, is currently passing through the Strait of Gibraltar at this moment. With this picture here showing the Gerald R. Ford just several miles away from the mouth of the Strait of Gibraltar itself. This is a fairly significant movement. The USS Gerald R. Ford is the most advanced of its class and type of carrier in the U.S. Navy currently. And of course, once it arrives within the area, it'll also be bringing along with it several Arleigh Burke-class destroyers that are a part of the strike group, and greatly increasing the amount of firepower and air power projection that the United States Armed Forces will have within the region. The situation with the Russian Federation not only providing weapons to the Republic of Venezuela, but now also opening the door for possible further weapons to be provided, including an Oreshnik intercontinental ballistic missile or Caliber cruise missiles, is starting to change this from the generally stated narco-terrorist counter-operations that the President of the United States has been talking about, and more into a geopolitical struggle at this moment, with Venezuela almost looking like it might turn into a Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0, which is something that we've generally been straying away from even talking about here on the channel, as that would be somewhat odd for it to happen, and did not seem that it was possible to happen yet, but it now does appear that the Russian Federation is starting to openly state that they may try and force the situation into a Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0. If that is the case, we could see that this could be used as leverage against the United States of America and other foreign policy matters, including those inside of Ukraine, where a sort of a ceasefire or a compromise will have to be made between the United States and Russia on the two matters, instead of the United States being able to press home the advantages and the cards that we hold on the situation in Eastern Europe and against the Russian Federation directly. This now means that the United States of America must act rapidly to be able to deal with the Venezuelans and to be able to put them down. Now it's not really a matter of whether or not people support this operation, or whether or not people support the idea of a narco-terrorist counter-operation, or whether or not that would be successful. This is now a matter of the United States versus Russia, largely in a proxy conflict with Venezuela. And of course, we cannot allow the Russian Federation to start building a significant fortress and armed bastion of their sphere of influence or power projection directly inside of the Eastern Caribbean. Not only would that be incredibly dangerous for American commercial shipping lanes that travel through the Panama Canal, which make up nearly 5 to 6% of global shipping traffic, but it also would be a very deadly situation for the United States Armed Forces that find themselves within the United States southeastern regions, which also could find themselves under the attack of Russian Caliber cruise missiles and also other forms of missilery that the Russian Federation may provide to the Republic of Venezuela at any given moment in time if the Republic of Venezuela is still allowed to exist. We do understand that the United States has built up a significant force within the area, including the 22nd MEU, the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, several Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, the USS Lake Erie, a Ticonderoga guided missile-class destroyer, also a Freedom-class littoral combat ship, and also a couple of fleet auxiliaries, including the MV Ocean Trader, which generally carries the Special Forces, or is generally considered to be the Special Forces yacht. We also understand that the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment is also within the area as well, along with several other units that have not been disclosed to the public. This is a significant force buildup and would be enough to generally deal a deadly blow to the Republic of Venezuela if the moment ever needed to arise. And considering that the Russian Federation is now starting to openly provide weaponry and maybe even possibly personnel to assist the Venezuelans in the situation, it is now imperative that the United States of America must act in the situation, whether or not we thought that the timing with a war with Venezuela was good or not. Moving on out of that situation, however, the Ukrainians are making the situation for Russia on the home front incredibly difficult, as we have been able to see that overnight the Ukrainian drone attacks were able to land a very successful hit within the area of the Nizhny Novgorod refinery in Kostovo. This refinery has been hit several times before, but this was a very significant hit. More than 50 domestically produced Bulber and FP-1 drones were used in the strike on this refinery, according to the Kyiv Post, which occurred during repair works and equipment previously damaged in earlier attacks. The refinery is a key supplier of fuel to the Moscow region and is also used to support Russia's military operations. We did get to see another little clip from earlier in the day before the attack, actually showing the damage more so and the repairs that were already being conducted. And if this video will operate properly, hopefully, there we go. You can actually see right here, I'll have to mute the clip, but you can actually see here them driving into the refinery at Kosovo, just south of the city of Nizhny Novgorod, and showing off a little bit of the damage and repairs that were already underway and being affected at that point. This is, by the way, a glimpse of the refinery before the attack that y'all just saw in the last picture. So this was the condition of the refinery before the attack from last night. And we see them driving through. Very barren looking oil refinery. And of course, we're waiting to see the additional damage that was caused in the prior attacks leading up to this one. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of the base level that this refinery was at before the damage that was inflicted from last night's attack. We see them continuing to drive through and talking about the attacks that came from days prior. We can also see a little bit of damage on that building to the right and some sort of gas venting off at the top. The workers are talking about the noise that was caused from the attacks from days prior and also the damage. We can see here that repairs are being affected to some sort of a condensator or fractionation unit. Can't really tell y'all which one. I'm not exactly a petroleum expert or a refinery expert. We can see more gas venting from ruptured pipes. And we can see additional damage and repairs that were being affected before the damage that was inflicted from just last night. These attacks on oil refineries are some of the most significant and damaging actions that the armed forces of Ukraine can take against the Russian Federation in the conflict. By damaging these refineries, not only are they knocking out a significant part of Russia's fuel availability for their civilian population and their military, but they're also knocking out a huge part of the financial apparatus that keeps the Russian economy and the Russian government running. A large amount of Russia's tax revenue comes from these oil refineries, and a large amount of the money that keeps the Russian economy at a base steady operational level also on top of that comes from these refineries. With these refineries being knocked out, the money is starting to shrivel away, and eventually they'll most likely run completely out of it. In the meantime, we also saw that a petrochemical plant was also hit within the area of Sterlitamak, which is directly in the area of the Ural Mountains in the south, just south of the city of Ufa. We can actually see the attack and the explosion happen here on the security camera off in the distance. That was a little loud. Hope that didn't wake anyone up. But that's the end of that clip, and it does appear that another petrochemical plant has ended up biting the dust. In the meantime, in Moscow, we did get an additional statement that apparently 5,000 North Korean workers or construction troops have been sent to Russia since September to help with infrastructure reconstruction, a South Korean lawmaker said Tuesday after a briefing by the country's National Intelligence Service. It does appear that the North Koreans are continuing to play an active role in supporting the Russian Federation in this conflict, as they are continuing to receive pretty much the finest financial incentives that they could have ever thought of from the Russian Federation for their assistance by any measure. In the meantime, the Russian Federation was caught inside of Poland with two spies being arrested by the Polish Internal Security Services with charges of spying for the Russian FSB. The couple, who had refugee status, allegedly collected intelligence on Polish foreign ministry officials, academic exchange programs, and Russian opposition figures. Their trial is now being set for the 8th of December, and we will most likely see that they will be found guilty. Moving on out of that news and on into Belgium, we have also been able to hear that shoot-down orders have been given, as Belgian soldiers have been authorized to shoot down drones flying over military bases. Experts say the Belgian army demonstrated a lack of professionalism in handling the recent drone incidents. Troops used ineffective signal jammers, scrambled a helicopter too late to intercept the aircraft, and failed to locate the drone operators. In the end, the drones calmly flew north towards the Netherlands, according to RTL. Three large drones were spotted on November 1st and 2nd over the Kleine Brogel military base in Belgium. This is a significant drone violation, at least the one that happened to Kleine Brogel, because Kleine Brogel is a significant air base not only for the Belgian Air Force, but also for that of the United States Air Force, with a large amount of B-61 tactical nuclear bombs of the United States Air Forces being based out of the area of Kleine Brogel. These drones flew directly over the area that secured and housed these tactical nuclear weapons before they were intercepted by the Belgian army using helicopters and then flew north into the Netherlands, where they then quickly lost sight of them. These drone incursions are incredibly dangerous, not only for the United States Air Forces and their operational capabilities around the area, but also that of the Belgian Armed Forces as well. Hopefully, this shoot-down order will allow for them to intercept and destroy these drones before they can cause any further damage or cause any further security compromises for the United States or our allies throughout the region of Belgium or the larger part of NATO. Hopefully, these orders will also expand to the greater deal of NATO here in the future, time permitting, of course. However, moving on out of that and into some more news out of Crimea, we also got to see that a small anti-sub patrol vessel, the Albatross M, actually caught on fire within the area of the Sevastopol Bay earlier today. You can actually see the vessel on fire right there. It is unclear why the vessel caught on fire. It could have been a lack of maintenance, some form of arson, sabotage, anything in between. But it does appear that another vessel of the Russian Federation's may end up becoming heavily damaged, as we have not heard of any firefighting attempts being made on the vessel, and the fire appears to have been burning out of control from last we heard, possibly allowing for the vessel to be compromised structurally and sink inside of that area of the harbor, leading to either the vessel being scrapped or an extensive amount of expensive repairs on an incredibly small vessel. Nevertheless, that is all of the major news that we have for today. I have to thank you all so much once again for watching. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure once again to be able to cover the daily short war news with each and every one of y'all, and I hope y'all been finding it to be incredibly well researched and well thought out. If y'all do find that to be the case, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We run these streams and videos about as much as we can. Videos whenever we have enough news, and live streams 6 days a week, every single day of the week at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, every day but Monday. If you also have enjoyed this greatly and you would like to help to make this channel financially possible, you can support us on Patreon, link in the description below. We have to give a massive shout out to all of our patrons, most of them putting in $5 a month, about the cost of a cup of coffee, because they are able to help us to financially make this channel possible and to keep the lights on here at Enforcer HQ 3.0, and to be able to make sure to put all of our attentions and efforts towards working on this show and making sure to put out the best and most well-researched news that we possibly can. A huge thanks to all of y'all so much once again for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.